We will, of course, continue to follow the latest on Hurricane Florence, that developing story. But we also have this stunning development in the Russia investigation. The president's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who repeatedly said he'd never do it, is in fact now fully cooperating with the special counsel's office. The deal announced this morning in court, where Manafort stood before the judge and admitted guilt to 2 charges: conspiracy against the United States and obstruction of justice for witness tampering. He remains in jail for now until sentencing. The cooperation agreement with the special counsel's office coming just days before his second trial was set to get underway. Remember, it was just a month ago that President Trump referred to Manafort as a brave man for not breaking and talking with disdain about people who he called flippers. So far, though, today, the president hasn't been heard from directly. No tweets so far. His press secretary, Sarah Sanders, did issue this statement. This had absolutely nothing to do with the president or his victorious 2016 presidential campaign. It is totally unrelated. And his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, issued a similar sounding statement. Quote, "Once again, an investigation has concluded with a plea having nothing to do with President Trump or the Trump campaign. The reason? The president did nothing wrong." For more on all of this, I'm joined by Ken Delanian at the federal courthouse, where he's been all day, along with our new NBC legal analyst, Glenn Kirshner, former federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C. Good to see both of you. So, Ken, is it accurate what both Sanders and Giuliani are saying? This has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with his campaign. Do we even know what he has to offer, Robert Mueller?
We don't know, Chris, but it's not accurate to say it has nothing to do with the president. The president is the subject of Robert Mueller's investigation into whether the Trump campaign coordinated, conspired with the Russian election interference. And today could be the most momentous day yet in the course of that investigation. It began when Paul Manafort walked into a courtroom in that courthouse behind me and uttered the words, "I plead guilty." And before he did that, the lead prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, walked the court through about 40 minutes of all the illegal conduct that the Mueller team has alleged against Paul Manafort, both in Virginia and D.C. And the first 2 rows of that courtroom were filled up with investigators and people associated with a case that's been called a witch hunt by President Donald Trump, that's been lambasted by Trump's allies. And Paul Manafort was asked whether that was an accurate rendition by the judge, and he said yes, it was. So while he pleaded guilty to 2 charges, he admitted to all of it, to the bank fraud, the tax fraud, the failure to file as a foreign lobbyist for, let's not forget, Russian-backed Ukrainian interests. So he got a pretty sweet deal, and now the question is, what does he have to offer the Mueller team? He has agreed to fully cooperate, and that means meeting with investigators without his lawyer present, testifying when they say he needs to testify, turning over documents, and postponing his sentencing, crucially, until they are satisfied that he has fully cooperated. So the big mystery, as you said, Chris, remains, what does he have to offer about Roger Stone, about the Trump campaign, about his relationship with that Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska? This is going to play out in the coming months, Chris.
And Manafort's attorney, Glenn, and by the way, welcome aboard. It's great to have you as part of the NBC and MSNBC team. His attorney spoke just really briefly after the hearing. He also hinted that these charges were just from years ago. I want to play that.
Tough day for Mr. Manafort, but he's accepted responsibility, and he wanted to make sure that his family was able to remain safe and live a good life. He's accepted responsibility, and this is for conduct that dates back many years, and everybody should remember that. So thank you, everyone.
So, Glenn, you have him, as well as the people in Trump's administration, saying, oh, this happened a long time ago. And yet the reality is Paul Manafort has pled guilty. He also was convicted in his previous trial. He's going back to jail. He's in jail right now until this all plays out, which I wonder, is that just a daily reminder from the prosecutor for Paul Manafort? Hey, if you're having any second thoughts, if you're going to hold anything back, if you're not going to tell everything you know, this is where you can spend the rest of your life.
Yeah, Chris, there are 2 important takeaways, I think, from what we saw develop today. First, just let me say, with respect to the defense attorney saying this is from years ago, I mean, you need to only look at the paperwork that was filed in court today. Paul Manafort pled guilty to criminal conduct that spans from 2006 to 2017, including the time he was then candidate Trump's campaign manager. So this years ago dog won't hunt. But the 2 important takeaways from this, Chris, are, one, as Ken actually mentioned, Manafort pled guilty to only 2 counts, but those 2 counts included all of the criminal conduct that was laid out in all 7 counts. So what he admitted to the court was that, you know what, Mueller got it exactly right. I did all of these things. And then over and above that, he also included taking responsibility for his Virginia crime. So this, I think, puts yet another nail in the witch hunt argument coffin.
Glenn, Ken, thanks to both of you. Much appreciated.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.